And in case you didn't hear, the plan will be to record this and then make it available after the fact on the PTA website and the Maryvale website for those that aren't able to attend. But thank you all for joining us this evening. Just a quick overview of the agenda. I'm going to give a few. So my name is Stephen Hendrickson. I'm the PTA president for Maryvale Elementary. I'm going to give a few overview remarks and then turn it over to our main presenters, Principal Prin and Assistant Principal Bowerman, to discuss the initial plan for the partial return to the school. And then we wanted to give some time for our PTA board members to introduce themselves and share a bit about where they see their activities heading in the weeks and months to come. So with that, I would like to highlight in the chat a couple things. One is we're using this interface called Member Hub, where there's a link in the chat that if you want to just be on the PTA email list so you can stay up to date on activities at the school, there's a link there. Just adds it's opt-in for your contact info. In addition, through Member Hub, you can also choose to become a member of the PTA and pay annual dues, and that just helps support the organization and help us have the resources to fund activities. But this time, if all you want is just information via the newsletter and our outreach, feel free just to add your email there, and we're happy to connect with you that way. So as I said, I'm the PTA president. This is my second year. As PTA president, I have two kids at Maryvale. Hazel is in Madam Pio's class in 5th grade, and my daughter Meta is in 3rd grade in Madam Caduno's class, and my son Desmond will be a kindergartner at Maryvale this fall. My wife Sadie, who's on the call tonight, she's been, many of you know her, she's been very active with the school over the years, running the science fair and volunteering in various capacities. And we also actually live in the neighborhood. So although my kids are in the French Immersion program, we're actually a neighborhood family as well. So again, thanks for joining us. I think one main point I just want to emphasize in this meeting is that, the PTA is here to advocate on your behalf. So if you have any challenges you're running into, questions, concerns, if there's some way that we can help support you, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly at president@maryvalepta.org. or feel free to call me or text me at 724-980-8404. I know everyone's doing their best and we're navigating a lot of challenges with the pandemic and virtual learning, but we're here to anytime, pandemic or regular, that's a main activity of the PTA, is just to be here and to be a voice for families to make sure that any challenges they're facing can be addressed as best we can. And one thing I would like to highlight that as a PTA, we also, in addition to these membership meetings, we have monthly board meetings. Those have been moved virtually because of the pandemic, but I think it's actually worked really well that you don't have to drive anywhere on a monthly basis to go meet with other families from the school. And we would be more, we would love to have greater attendance at those monthly meetings. I think for me, one of the big highlights is that Principal Prin gives you an update of what's going on in the school every month. So it's a great way to kind of stay up to date on what's going on. And even if you just want to listen, just get more familiar with what the PTA is doing, what the school is doing, I think that's a great way to get a little more connected. And there are a lot of opportunities to become, more active through that role, but attendance, you can just sit and listen and get familiar with things that way. And we would love to have you. So I'm happy to follow up with more info on that front. I think the other thing I would like to emphasize, as a PTA, I think there's 3 areas that we really work to support the school. The first is we have a volunteer network. So the folks that you're going to hear later on in the meeting after the presentation are the leaders on the board, but we have a wide network of other people. I see Patty Westenberg's on here, a lot of people that volunteer and really contribute to the school community that way. And so just being part of that volunteer network is both a way to help the school community as well as stay connected to what's going on and to be a part of the community. And then second is through communication. So I see Ashwin's on the call, our communications chair. We really try to support families staying in touch with what's going on with the school and get the word out. So if people have events or activities they're trying to do, we try to amplify those. We have 600 plus students at Maryvale. That's a lot of families that could potentially be engaged. And so that's why I highlight, if you sign up for that email list that we just are linking to in the chat, that's a way for you to stay up to date on what things are going on. And we'd love to have your engagement there. And then I think the third area just really emphasize is on the resource side. So because of the pandemic, we haven't been as active in holding events. I think, partially people are getting their share of video events. We have had a few that I think have been pretty successful, but once we start to return back to an in-person environment, we have a lot of activities we want to do to really bring the community together. And honestly, we're in a pretty strong financial position due to both our treasurer, Acacia Jackson Vance, who's here, as well as Sandra Taylor, who's our fundraising chair, that we have, cash on hand, basically, that if people have ideas for things they want to do, that we can support that. And that also kind of goes to my earlier point that if there are challenges that people have addressed, that there's ways that we can provide resources, we're happy to do so. And so things like library books, online tools, those are things that the PTA funds on every year. We're providing funding directly to make that possible. And in addition, I think another thing people don't realize is that we make available $100 grants to every teacher that's a member of the PTA, that they can buy supplies for their school, for their classroom. And there's always options that if a classroom needs additional resources, that we can help make that possible. And so we're really ramping up our engagement in the months to come. And I really see this as a kickoff for a lot of that. And I know we're all excited to be moving to even a hybrid in-person environment. And so I think we're open to that feedback and suggestions and further engagement. So just a reminder, next we're gonna have Principal Prin and Assistant Principal Bowerman give their presentation. That will be facilitated by Keith Vance, our IT/webmaster guru on the call. And then from there, we'll then give our board members a chance to introduce themselves as well. So with that, I would like to hand that over. Oh, and I should mention, Keith will probably mention this, if you have a question that comes up while you're listening to the presentation, if you submit that through the chat function, Keith will catch those and then be able to facilitate communicating those back to Principal Prin and Assistant Principal Bowerman. So with that, I turn that over to our presenters. Thank you all for coming.
Okay. Hi everybody and welcome. This is a huge group tonight, and so we're thrilled to see your face for so many reasons. And we're excited to share some of the work that's been going on lately. And I want to just make sure you know that we have a few other staff members in here. And while I just see a few faces at the top bar on my screen, Matthew, would you like to say hi?
Hello, Maryvale family. Good to see you all. It's Mr. Bowerman, nice to see all of you.
And I think Miss Ritt, I think I saw her in the list of names. Miss Ritt, are you here? Can you just pop on to say hello?
I am. Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Ritt. I'm the school counselor.
So, and I don't know if Madam Riley is here. I think Madam Riley will be joining us. Is she here? Yeah. Ms. Jillian, can you say? Yeah, perfect.
Hi, everybody. It's wonderful to see all the families again. It's like I'm walking through the hallway now. I see a lot of wonderful faces and familiar faces. So we're very excited.
I will say, even today, I was in the building today looking out my office, and I saw a few of our students walking by the front, and it's everything in my power not to climb out the window just to have a conversation with them. But we did knock on the window at each other, so that was kind of fun. We're really excited to talk to you about the initial planning that we have going for the reopening. I will say that there's two programs that still will be completely virtual and those that will be returning to school partially in person. So while I know many parents tonight are going to want to find out, is my teacher going to be at school? Is my teacher going to only be teaching from home? Is my child still going to have the same teacher? Is my child still going to be with their same set classmates? Well, I'd love to give you those details. Those are some of the things that we're still working on finalizing. So I am going to share what we have, and then I can assure you we will give you the timeline of when you can expect more information from us. So I am going to try and share my screen again with that slideshow. Can you see, everybody see it? Thumbs up. Yeah. So there is a chat bar And in the chat, you're welcome to pose questions. Mr. Vance has very kindly offered to kind of monitor the chat. So if you have a question, it'll go right to him. And at the end of the presentation, he'll sort of look for surrounding topics that we maybe didn't clarify enough, and we'll pose question and answers. So tonight you're going to hear from both Mr. Bowerman, myself, Madam Riley, Ms. Ritt. You're always welcome to jump right in with us. The work for reopening has been going on. Each time we think there's a chance that are going to be returning to the building. The board is going to meet on February 23rd. That is a day meeting, and they will likely send out a communication to all the community that evening, but they will relook at the metrics at that time. And so we'll want to pay close attention to the February 23rd. That will be an important date. So I want to give you a little bit more about the timeline. February 23rd, that is the day the board is going to meet. And that is also the day that families will get an electronic letter from me or Mr. Bowerman or the both of us about what your child's specific schedule will look like. So the letter will likely say, at this time you have your preference was, or this is what we're able to accommodate, this is what the programming will look like. Those letters will be sent electronically through ConnectEd and Synergy, and they will go out on February 23rd. That's when parents, you can expect to find out, will my child's teacher be in the building? Will they be teaching from home? Who will be in the classroom with my child if it's in person? Those details, as we work to finalize staffing to support both a virtual and in-person model, are being determined now and are not quite ready to be shared. Another important day is February 26th. That day is the last day to make changes or to request changes to your preference. So the survey was completed prior to the winter break holidays, and you said, I would prefer for my child to have an in-person school experience, or I prefer my child to stay virtual. They also asked if transportation was needed. So those preferences, if you have Parent View on Synergy, you can log into your Synergy account and on Parent View, and you'll see a button that says Parent View, and it says Parent Preference, Parent Survey Preference. And you can confirm what you responded to in that survey. If before the 26th, you want to make a change, and I've had several families do this or contact their teacher then forwards me the email. As long as we have space and are able to make any of those changes, we will make them. In very few cases, I expect if you were requested to be virtual and have now changed your mind and want in person, there is a possibility that there could be a wait list. Not in all cases, but in a few cases, we are at capacity for the in-person experience. That jumped off my screen.
Sorry, that was me. I clicked the wrong thing. When you put the slideshow back on, can you put it in like a presentation mode? It's hard to read. It's small.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Where is present? There we go. Fingers crossed it's working. This is what teachers go through every day. Okay. So if you're a family member and you're just unsure at this time, I would suggest you look at what your survey preference was. Think about if you're making a change and you know you want to make a change, that would be emailing me or your child's teacher, and they forward it to me. Then you'll get a confirmation saying we're able to accommodate this request, or at this time we're not able to, we're going to put you on a wait list. If you're going from in-person to virtual, that's a lot easier because then we're not figuring out space in the building. On the February 26th, after that date, there's sort of a shutdown phase, because now whatever those numbers are that day, we have to make sure the plan is ready and in place. So the window sort of shuts down from that March 1st to March 12th. So we would ask parents not to make changes to their selection during that time so we can finalize the planning. The first in-person group for us is group 1.1. They're scheduled to come back on Monday, March 15th. So some of the guiding kind of principles that we use for our decision making is, number one, the safety of students and staff. That's first and foremost. Then we want to make sure that we are providing rigorous learning and equitable learning opportunities for either in person or virtually. So we don't want there to be a loss because of a choice of either. We want to make sure both are at high level and meeting the needs of our children. And the third was maintaining teacher and student relationships with minimal changes, to as minimally as we can, as possible. On March 15th, that phase 1.1, the students that are in our comprehensive autism preschool program, that is a discrete program, we call it the CAP program, they will be returning. And then our kindergarten through third grade students will also return on March 15th. When the partial return it comes, it's a 4-day in-school experience. It is Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. The Wednesday schedule still remains the same, no matter if your child's going to remain virtual to the end of the year or is in school partial experience. That Wednesday will still be all virtual. Students will not come to school that day. Phase 1.2 is April 6th. That return is for grades 4 and 5 and pre-kindergarten and Head Start. So we have a 3-year-old Head Start program, 4-year-old Head Start program, and a pre-kindergarten class. So all of pre-K will start then, along with grades 4 and 5. The difference between K to 3 and 4 to 5 is students will be grouped in a cohort A or a cohort B, and they come on their cohort weeks. So if cohort A, if your child's in cohort A, they would come on the A week for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, while the B cohort stays all virtual that week. The following week, A would stay home and B comes Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. This A-B rotation is consistent across all Montgomery County Public Schools for grades 4 and 5. I wanted to show you the current numbers so you can get an idea of what our work in planning is. So in CAP, you can see that 3 students are requesting virtual only, while 8 are requesting in person. In this case, this is a discrete autism program. So 2 of those classes will be direct instruction from the teacher with paraeducators, and 1 class will be all virtual to support those wanting just the virtual experience. In pre-kindergarten, that's Miss Mashburn's class. She has an AM and a PM. And their model they will use, which we'll talk about later, is the support to virtual. Head Start 3-year and Head Start 4-year. You can see how those programs line up, with some students wanting an in-school experience while some wanting virtual in both age groups. On this slide, you'll clearly see kindergarten through 3rd grade. This is where our French immersion programming starts. So I did separate it by language program so that you can see what your child, where your child would fit. In these models, we will be doing all support to virtual, which we'll talk about in just a slide or 2 ahead. So what you're seeing here is all the students that will be returning on March that are requesting an in-school experience on March 15th. Those students in virtual will still remain virtual. Now for the April 6th return, those are the current numbers for planning in these grades. So these would be the students that will be on the AB cohort on a rotation basis. They will also do support to virtual. And then at the bottom, you'll see, so total school-wide as of now, there's 305 students requesting to remain virtual through the end of the year, and 272 students are requesting a partial in-school experience. So while our staff has not grown, we are going to be, our challenge has been making sure we don't lose instruction for either group coming in or learning virtually, and trying to maintain those guiding principles that we talked about: rigorous instruction and learning occurring, maintaining the teacher and student relationships that have already been established, and keeping everybody safe. I will note that for families attending tonight, this will be in my Connect Ed messages as well, but the Board of Ed made the following calendar changes for all schools. March 8th is going to now be a professional day. It was not, it was a regular instructional day, but it is now a professional day. So there will be no instruction or virtual learning for students on Monday, March 8th. Tuesday and Wednesday, March 9th and 10th, are now going to be asynchronous learning, which is recorded learning with no live instruction. The reason for these 3 days of not live instruction is to give teachers time to prepare their new instructional settings. So teachers will be preparing to teach still virtually while coming in to organize the classroom with new technologies to support the support to virtual. I did want to note, though, that spring break remains the same. There was no change to spring break, and the last day of school still remains the same for the 16th of June. Our schedule is going to shift slightly. So in virtual learning, we have been starting at 9 a.m. and ending about 3:15. So because we are a tier 2 school, and because transportation now is coming into the picture for the buses, we are now going back to our original. And if you have a kindergarten and you're new to Maryvale, you're not sure of this schedule, but we usually open our doors at 9:05 and instruction starts at 9:25. We adapted this year for virtual school to accommodate the county planning and instructional guidelines. But we have looked closely at the master schedule and noted if we just adjust the time by 25 minutes, everything else will still stay the same. So your child's special, their special time, their instructional blocks will be the same, just 25 minutes later. So instead of a 9 o'clock instructional start time, the instructional block will start at 9:25. Instead of our lunch wellness break beginning at 11:30, the lunch wellness break will begin at 11:55. And the end of the day, instead of it being 3:15, is going to be 3:40 to 3:50, with the buses picking up at 3:50 if they're in person. What I'd like to note about the schedule is that whether in person or virtually, there's still that 90-minute block. So students in person will have lunch, they will still have recess, and then they will have a wellness or support time, while the students at home will still have lunch and their break time prior to the afternoon starting of learning. So some considerations with the CAP students, that's our Comprehensive Autism Preschool Program. Most students are going to remain in the same class with the same teacher with very slight shifts because those programs will be direct instruction with one being virtual. In Head Start and Pre-K, students will remain in the most part with the same class and the same teachers, whether they're virtually or in person. And kindergarten through grade 3, students will remain in the same class with the same teacher. Although, if a teacher is not coming into the building for in-person, someone else will be there to support that in-person experience. We're being very, very careful in who that person is. It needs to be somebody, we understand it needs to be somebody that your child has a trusting relationship with them. And in most cases, they already know and are supporting the class as now. In grade 4 and 5, students will remain with the same class and the same teacher, although they may have someone else for the in-person experience leading the virtual learning because of the, again, in-school experience, but students will only be in the building with their A or B cohort. So the instructional models still pretty much look the same, whether you are in person or virtual. Students should get direct instruction, small group instruction, and support where needed. In-person experiences are going to include a combination of direct instruction, either virtually or from a teacher right there in the building with them. Simultaneous instruction, where the teacher is in the classroom teaching to both students virtually and those in the classroom at the same time. Support instruction, meaning there is another staff member, not necessarily the classroom homeroom teacher in the classroom, supporting the child engaging in virtual instruction with the teacher. And then there will be times where during student support, it's virtual only, and they're doing some independent work. The virtual experience will include a combination of the same. There'll be whole group, small group, and support. Mr. Bowerman's going to jump in because you might be getting tired of my voice at this point. He's going to jump in and talk to you about some of the safety procedures and other topics.
Thank you so much, Ms. Prin, for your leadership and for the information. I just want to say hi to everybody again. I want to thank all of you. I'm just reminded, just to share for a moment, about 7 days ago, my daughter was born, Lyra, and makes Lucky 6, so we're very busy here. But in the face of that birth, you know, with so much life and joy and wonder, you know, I'm reminded with my own children of all the other children that Ms. Prin and our whole staff love and support, and that's all of your children. And to that end, I just want to say from Ms. Prin and myself and our whole staff, thank you for being on that side, for being heroes for your children, for being such positive, compassionate, courageous support systems. Thank you for trusting us with them every day in such a challenging time as we do all we can to support academically and social emotionally. And so I just want to celebrate that for a minute and thank you and celebrate their lives every day, because you guys are heroes and they're doing a tremendous job even as we all find our way through all of this. So to that point, safety. Ms. Prin mentioned that as one of the first guiding principles, and it indeed surrounds all that we do. So students will be wearing a mask at all times, from walking onto the campus or riding onto the campus, and they'll be there wearing those masks at all times except for lunch. There's no sharing of materials throughout the day, whether it be pre-K, outside at recess with toys, balls, things like that. There'll be frequent hand washing and hand sanitizer stations, provision for classrooms and throughout the building. We have limited hallway interactions, limited hallway transitions. And social distancing, of course, as you know, 6 feet apart. There's no drinking from water fountains. Water fountains will be, in essence, disabled during this time. These are some of the safety pieces in place for students and some of the ongoing guidance for student safety with regards to health attestations and some other things are currently under development. With regards to staff, there's a complete daily health screener that we complete upon entering the building. There's a sign into the front office daily, and following, of course, of all MCPS/CDC guidelines with regards to health and safety protocols, masking at all times, washing hands frequently, the social distance 6 feet apart are all at play in our work. Next slide, please. Thank you. 2 questions that have come up as guidance from the county. Will MCPS provide regular COVID-19 testing to students and staff engaging in in-person experiences? So just to read it there, I'm sure you can see it as well, but MCPS is going to implement regular COVID-19 testing protocol in alignment with best research practices. And more details are going to be coming out about this. And as soon as we have those, Ms. Prin will send those out in Connect Ed. Our messaging will continue to highlight everything that we can with you as we move forward. Governor Hogan's also announced as of 2/11 that resources are going to be made available to conduct testing in schools, not by teaching staff that we are aware of at this time. That would be coming through our health offices and other personnel that MCPS would be providing potentially. The other question, what will happen when or if there is a case? Everyone's asking this question of COVID-19 in a school or in the office, and how would that be communicated? Or there'll be contact tracing. So currently, the guidance we've been given is that MCPS is working directly with DHSS, the Department of Health and Human Services, to respond if a COVID-19 case is identified. I can just also speak just a little bit more to say that based on all of the protocols that have been in place so far that we've been using and seeing in our schools since we opened the new building, it's a very rigorous process that the county's using with guidance from the state and from the CDC that's proven very effective in promoting safety and health in the school. Next slide, please. Thank you. Transportation. So transportation times for general education students are basically mirroring, for the most part, our traditional school year times. They're going to be posted with the MCPS transportation site by March the 1st. Most likely, we'll be also providing some direct messaging through us as well as we get more into that, highlighting those pieces of our transportation work, for our arrivals and dismissals, et cetera, for our new school. There are 22 passengers now that have been allotted per bus, all with masks, all set up according to the MCPS and CDC protocols around transportation and how the students are kind of positioned or set in a safe manner within the buses, 1 per seat, except for students who live together in one household. So at this time, Ms. Prin and I are available to answer questions, of course, and continue the conversation a little further. And as I know she would tell you too, if we don't have the answer right now, we will certainly work on a solution for you and be able to provide that information out through our messaging and through the PTA as well. Thank you so much. We really appreciate all of your support.
So I think the questions would have been put in into the chat, and Mr. Vance kindly volunteered to monitor, so we might have some questions to throw out. But I did want to mirror. I know parents that you're nervous. You're nervous if your child's staying virtually, will the same level of instruction, will they get the same level from the classroom teacher? I know parents, you're worried about if you're decided in person, coming back about the safety and will it be my teacher? I will tell you there is a whole building ready and willing to greet your children daily, whether they're greeting us from home or they're greeting us from inside, getting off the bus or out of a car. It doesn't matter for us how we get to be with your children daily. We will program for them. And we value, as Matthew said, your partnership to do this. We couldn't do this without you. You are truly the champions. We've watched you do it day in and day out. Your trips to the school, to 45 West Goody, to Fix Technology, you have been amazing. And we want to promise you that we care and we are dedicated to providing the best virtual experience, if that's what you choose, or in-person experience. Mr. Vance, are there any questions that came through the chat that we could answer?
Yeah, a lot of people have a question about like where to find the parent survey and the information on the parent view. Is there some sort of documentation we can point them to, or some instructions?
So I can't go to parent view because actually I have administrator access, not the parent view access. But I will tell you, if you use Synergy and you have a parent view account, one of the tabs where it says like, it'll say emergency contact information, it'll say your schedule. One tab that has been added is the parent survey preference. And if you click on that, there's two things you'll see. What was the preference you indicated on that survey? And the second underneath that is if you said in person, if you requested transportation. If families have not activated their parent view account and they are not sure, since it was way back before winter holidays, please feel free to email me or call the school. Matthew and I are there really pretty much every day, but we have access to email at all times. So I can go on, or he can go on and check for you and tell you. If you want to make a change, we request that that be in writing because we timestamp when the requests come in. So an email would be preferable.
All right. Another question came through. Will there be recess for the kids in person? What would that be like?
Mr. Bowerman, you want to take that one? You're on mute.
You should be able to.
There you go.
Could you repeat it again, please? I could not hear it very well.
Will there be recess for in person, and what will that look like?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So in terms of recess right now, students are allowed to be together on the playground. They're allowed to interact on the playground and with the playground equipment. Now, if you've been over to the new Maryvale, I'm sure your eyes have already, wow, about the beautiful new playgrounds that we have. And the hard and softscapes, the courts, basketball, the large field, and then the actual playground structures. Those hardscape spaces, the hard playground structures and whatnot, wouldn't be taped off, but they're open to the children to play. We're going to be putting together staggered recess times where there are children kind of out and about enjoying the spaces in zones. And we're going to be kind of setting off some demarcations or some areas for where they play and kind of whatnot to that on a rotating schedule. There'll be face coverings worn. There'll be coverage staff provided as we always have, and that staff will have, additional masks and things like that should those masks get dirty or, something along those lines. There'll be a sanitizing area as well. And then hand washing before and after we'll use, as well as the sanitizer. And then shared items like balls or jump ropes, things like those right now are not being allowed to be used during the recess time. And that may change with other future guidance, but as of now, it's not being allowed. And then we'll be using, as the county suggested, hand signals or other communication forms to help the children at any grade level compassionately kind of navigate if they were to take a mask off or they started to get too close to someone, and how to just kind of have that teachable moment to talk with them about making sure that they're being careful in their interaction, because they can, play together and enjoy the space there during that recess time of the day. I hope that answered the question fully enough, but I'm happy to elaborate if there's something else to it.
No, that was it. And then another person was concerned about the safety for the staff. Will they be getting vaccinated before the in-person learning starts?
I know Ms. Prin and I probably can both speak to this. The staff are not required to be vaccinated to come back into the building to work, but I know MCPS has rolled out a very significant and robust multiple levels of this point, from, the building service worker to paraeducator to Dr. Smith himself, all mixed together in a random way for staff to get vaccinated across schools, across the entire system, as that phase 2 priority level for essential workers. And the county's currently working on, in essence, another rollout to make sure we are making sure as much as possible for our teachers who return to the building based on their roles and responsibilities, that we try as consistently as possible through the county's guidance to get all staff who are returning to buildings vaccinated.
All right, and so it's another question. So if it didn't matter, what would one person was like, if it doesn't matter if we do in person or virtual, what would the staff at the school prefer? Do they prefer people to be in person, or would you prefer the students to be virtual?
So this is a hard one, because I can tell you personally, the staff has been doing this. It will be 1 year, and teachers become teachers because of the importance of relationships and working directly with children and developing in-person learning experiences. And this has been a challenge, right? So I will tell you, the teachers miss your children. They want to be back with them. I want to be with them. We all do. And they also care very much for your families. And there's so many different scenarios of safety that play into this. So while I really am so grateful and appreciative that somebody would ask to say, what do teachers prefer? I would say, without a doubt, anyone on this staff would say, we want for you to feel safe and for you to make a decision best for your child. And we want you to trust that no matter what that decision is, we are here and we will do everything that we can to support both virtual and in person at a high level to make sure the learning is as engaging as we can get it and as relationship oriented as we can.
Let's see what else we have here. So yeah, will there be a health screener for the kids or just for the staff? How will that work?
So I can answer this one a little bit. Matthew, jump in if I forget something, because Matthew's a huge part of the safety plan. We will have a health tech and a nurse present on site from the Department of Health and Human Services. We do have a separate room for anybody that experiences possible symptoms. So although more guidance is coming on from the county on that, the last information I received is there will be kind of a weekly screener or attestation for parents to share. But I think they were looking at something to do more weekly instead of daily for families, but I don't know what the county guidance is going to be on that. It will be consistent throughout all the schools, that decision.
So that also ties into another question that a parent had. If a student needs to take a medication or whatever, and needs the assistance from the nurse, will that still be an option if they go in person?
Absolutely, that's definitely, yes. So I can't wait for families to see it. Our health room and suite is very large. It has separate rooms in it. The medication will be the same way. If a child needs medication some point during the day, an inhaler or whatever medication, it would work the same way it did prior to the pandemic.
And what about students who don't wear their masks properly? How will those sorts of issues be addressed?
I think we know, just like we've probably all experienced in our own lives, that the children, again, whether it's a very young child in kindergarten, whether it's a 5th grader, even my 16-year-old, have those moments where the masks fall off, they take the mask off, they need to, it becomes uncomfortable. We also have students, as we've mentioned in some of our programs, who have sensory issues, and those are challenges for them as well, wearing masks. And so I think, to be honest with you, as I mentioned with recess, it falls into the same place that Mrs. Prinn and I move from, and that all our staff move from. You know, we carry that yes in our hearts, that yes, we're going to do everything we can to support the kids and keep them safe, online and in our school building. And so it comes back to just being compassionate about how we approach gentle reminders. It's not punishment based. We don't work like that in our school anyway. There's nothing punitive about it. We would remind, we would offer them, we would help them with the masks, which will happen anyway, whether in kindergarten, easily. So it's just really about really purposeful, loving, intentional, you know, gentle and kind approaches to, this is how we're moving in our school building and on the buses, and trying to help gently remind and making sure they have the materials they need all the time, and that they're using them and wearing them properly. And if they don't, and when they don't, and they will, that we help guide them back towards it, and help work with them. And if there's some need for other communication with family to help maintain that kind of two-way bridge of communication around that child's safety, then of course we'll have those chats as well. So we're all involved as partners in their safety and health.
It's really, as Matthew said, it really, for the mask wearing, we know that it's a long time for students to wear masks in the day, especially if they've been home and haven't had to wear them. But as he said, we really need to move from an educational approach and just explain the reason why we're wearing the mask is because it keeps you safe and it keeps others safe. And we're all wearing them. We have a huge supply of masks for students that their mask gets dirty, or that, you know, it rips, or, you know, they just need a fresh one because they're tired of that one. We'll be prepared for those.
Ms. Prinn, I want to add something else that the families might find useful as we're talking about masks. Ladies and gentlemen, especially with regards to recess time, since it was brought up, as well as transportation-based mask wearing, the statements from MCPS right now are really about that there are bandanas, masks that have like a head tie to them, or straps to the head, gaiters that come from the face down around the neck and throat, or masks that have like ear loops that pull back and kind of lock off, should not be worn because they create a significant strangulation hazard. And so that those masks are literally not allowed to be worn for any recess activities. And again, we will have materials, but just so you know ahead of time, as we set them up for safety and success, that we're giving them the materials that they would need along that mask usage line. So thank you.
And so one parent asked, for students that are going back to in person and the teacher is virtual, will they be then learning in the school but from a virtual teacher? And I guess the same thing too, someone else asked, so if you're now virtual, if you stay virtual, will you just be watching the teacher in a classroom?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
These are such good questions. We have been grappling with these for weeks, just over and over again. But I'm going to explain it the best I can, and hopefully, Michelle Ann, you can jump in and help, or Matthew. In the best case possible, right, and in many cases that we're planning on now, is that, let's say I have a class, I'm just going to throw numbers out here. I have a class of 24, 12 want in-person experience, and 12 want to remain virtual. Our guiding principles are safety, maintaining relationships, and making sure that instruction is rigorous for both at virtual and the in-school experience. So what that may look like is the teacher is coming into the building. She will have, or he will have, the computer teaching mainly virtual to the students logging in from home, while the 12 students that wanted in person are in front, all desks are facing forward towards the teacher. We will also then have a support person in there to assist. Now, at that same part, sometime during the day, during the afternoon blocks where we do have student support blocks, it might look a little different, where just certain groups virtually and in person are in the same Zoom, and other students are learning independently in virtual, like independent work, or in another breakout room with another, an ESOL teacher, a special educator. Michelle Ann, do you have anything to add to that?
So you're absolutely right. The teacher will be both equally interacting with the virtual and with the children that are in person. The opportunity for small group instruction is there. So for example, I do a lot of reading support. So for example, if they're learning their sight words, or if they're reading a text at their level, the teacher will be with that small group of people while the other children who are virtually are practicing some activity on their computer. So that's the way that we are looking at both providing support for those who are virtual as well as those who are in person. So let's say, for example, the kids then have to write their poem in the past tense, let's say, or they have to find all the adjectives in the text. Those kids that are doing that in person, then the teacher can go to a breakout room. She's still in the room. She goes to a breakout room, and then she assists maybe some of the virtual children. The county message is the following. We're looking at the kids that we have, and we're doing the best job we can to support them wherever they are. So we're looking at the children that are there virtually as well as the kids that are there in person. And then the other thing I would like to add about the mask wearing. Please know that MCPS is also talking to us as staff members of how best to address the staff with the children. There's going to be a lot of change for both the staff and the children. In MCPS, whether it was the 12th of February or on the 8th of March when we're getting ready for in-person, there's a lot of messaging coming from the county on how best to handle most situations in this pandemic. But I will echo what Mrs. Prinn and Mr. Bowerman are saying. We are very excited to go for the next stage, whether it be virtual or in person. And we will do the very, and you know, Mrs. Prinn and Mr. Bowerman, their number one priority is children and children's safety. And that is Maryvale's message.
I did want to say, thanks, Michelle Ann. I did want to say just before, because I want to be as transparent as I possibly can with you. I'm sharing what I know at this point, and I will share with you, we're spending probably 14 hours a day and some points working on this plan for return. There are in some instances where the classroom homework teacher will not come back to the building in person and will remain teaching virtually outside of the building. That is not in most cases, but there are a few cases where the homeroom teacher will not be coming back into the building. They will teach virtually. In those cases, we have made sure to assign whoever the support staff is that supports that teacher. They would then be the one in the classroom with the children to support the virtual. So it will not be a new face. It will not be a new name. And so in that way, your child would still have the in-person experience with the same staff that they have been used to for this year. Now, it is not in all cases, but it is in a few cases where the homeroom teacher will not be returning, for the remainder of the year in person.
So we have about 5 minutes left. Keith, do you have a sense of, have we gotten through the lion's share of questions, or kind of where are we in the queue?
There's probably got through maybe half of them. There's a ton, but I can save all the questions and we can do more follow-up information later. So everybody can, submit whatever you want in the chat and it'll get saved and then get reviewed and more information will be available. One question that did come up a lot, just might be easy to answer, is will the students have to bring in their Chromebooks if they're doing in person?
Oh, that's such a great question. I apologize. I should have thought about that. I don't know where, I'm sorry. That's like one of the things first go to. Students will go back and forth with their Chromebooks because, and I think the county is looking at into some kind of case that we could transport them because, you know, the back and forth is a lot. But remember, the children will need them on Wednesdays for virtual instruction. So, and if they're 4 and 5, they'll need them in weekly. So it's likely if your child's coming for the 4-day a week, maybe they don't need to take them home Monday night, but they would have to take them home Tuesday after school and bring them back on Thursday. So we'll get more guidance on that, but it is likely that there will be some Chromebooks going back and forth. The school will also, if a child forgets their Chromebook, we're not going to be calling parents to say, hey, they forgot their Chromebook, can you drive it up? We will have a cache of extra Chromebooks to loan out that will be cleaned daily and back in a case in case somebody forgets to bring theirs back. Thank you for that question, because I should have addressed that. I apologize.
And with their devices, please make sure to bring their charging cable.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I think in the interest of time, why don't Keith, you and I can work together with Principal Prinn and Assistant Principal Bowerman to aggregate all those questions and share that with the group separately. I did want to give, I know we're 2 minutes away from the top of the hour. I did want to give the rest of our board a chance to introduce themselves. I just want to quickly remind people of 3 things. The first is this meeting is being recorded. So if you would like to watch it again or know someone who missed it, we'll post it on maryvalepta.org as well as on the hopefully on the Maryvale school website. The second is if you look in the chat for the meeting, if you want to join the PTA, you can do that at maryvalepta.org, or if you, there's another link to the Maryvale Member Hub site, where if you just want to join the newsletter to stay up to date on items, you're welcome to do so. And third, the PTA board does meet every month, and everyone, even if you're not a board member, you're more than welcome to participate. That's held virtually. And honestly, a part of it is a little like this, where Principal Prinn and Assistant Principal Bowerman give us updates on what's happening. So if you have other questions or you really appreciate getting this kind of perspective, we would love to have you there. So if you sign up through one of the other channels, we'll be sure to make sure you know that. The next meeting is Tuesday, March 9th. It's the second Tuesday of every month. And with that, I would like to quickly give our, we're really fortunate to have a great leadership team of the PTA, been very flexible adapting to this environment. It's a great group of people that we'd love to have more people join. But just to do kind of a around the room for them to introduce themselves, we start if Benga Ige, our vice president, is on. Are you there, Benga?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, hi everyone. Benga Ige. My daughter is in 2nd grade. This is our 3rd year at Maryvale. Of course, I think we all know it's an unprecedented time. So please let us know how the PTA can support you and your kids.
Thanks, Benga. And you already sort of met Keith Vance, our IT webmaster guru for the PTA, and his wife, Acacia Jackson Vance, is our treasurer, who's done a phenomenal job managing the books for the PTA. Acacia, can you introduce yourself as well?
Hi. So we have 2 kids at Maryvale. Our daughter Vivian is in 3rd grade with Madam Caduno, and our son Arlo is in 1st grade with Madam Loomis. So I'm the treasurer. I've been the treasurer for, this is my 2nd year. If you come to the board meetings monthly, I go into a lot more detail about bank balances and things that are going on at a smaller scale. But I just wanted to mention a couple of things that you might not be aware of. So some notable income that we had this year. Henley Construction, who built our new building, gave us a $1,000 donation this year, which was really helpful in offsetting some of our other fundraising that we missed out on. And our book fair was really successful. Despite of anything, that we had going on, we made almost $900 with the book fair. Some expenses that we have promised out to people, even though it seems like, what can we be doing this year? Stephen mentioned earlier, we've promised $4,000 to Sharona to get books for the library, and that frees up her resources so she can get all the online resources that your kids are using in the virtual learning. So that's been really helpful for them. And we purchased the Unifix cubes that went out to all the first graders in the materials pickup. And then again, the teacher support grants that go to any teacher who signs up for the PTA. They can get $90 as a reimbursement, and we pay for their membership fees. So those are some of the things that we are still doing anyway, even though it's hard to see it. So thank you.
Thanks, Acacia. And our final member of the executive committee for the PTA is Amanda Roberts. And I would just highlight, Amanda previously was the restaurant coordinator for the PTA. And I think that's a great example of a very specific role that is a huge help. It actually brings in quite a bit of money for the PTA, and we're still looking for people to cover that kind of position. And it's a nice way to kind of get involved in a very discreet way. So we appreciate her involvement there, and she's been a fantastic secretary for us this year.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes, I'm Amanda Roberts. I know it says Brendan because my son Brendan is in Miss Skipton's second grade class. I also organized the movie nights last year, back when we could do things like movie nights. So Stephen's right. There's a lot of, hopefully a lot of this will return next year. These kind of discrete things that brought us together as a community, and also offer you opportunities to take on, a small leadership role, even if it's just to do, movie night every once in a while. So I am the secretary. I take notes. I actually had 2 computers going on. And I'm also involved in a lot of the planning of the activities that are happening, whether we, the chatty hours that we did at the beginning of the year, or some of the coat drive and the book drive and those types of things, to try and think about how we can help support the students at this school. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Amanda. Natalie Hull Simpson is our membership chair. And I also want to give a shout out to both in particular Sarah Daniel, who I think is on the line too, who's been really helpful with the membership work this year as well. Natalie, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Natalie Hull Simpson. My daughter Emmeline is in Madam Kone's second grade class, although we're also a local Maryvale family. So I handle the membership things. The big plug that I want to do is, if you look in the chat, the second link is for Member Hub, and it says join. If you join Member Hub, and it's not joining the PTA, so joining Member Hub is free, it has new ways for you to communicate with other Maryvale families. So one big thing is, last week I set up hubs, which are groups for each grade level. And so you can join like the second grade English classes or the second grade French immersion classes, and that would be a way for you to communicate with the other parents of the other families that your kids in classes with. So that's what I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Natalie. And yeah, just to echo that, we're really trying to encourage people. We're trying to build that sort of virtual community for discussion and help people information sharing across the school community. So thank you for all your work on that, Natalie. Next up, Ashwin Dharmadikari is our communications chair.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's Ashwin here. So I have a daughter in first grade in the French immersion track in Madame Loomis's class. And I want to say that it's great to see this turnout for the meeting tonight. One of the things as the communications chair that's been important for the work of the PTA is that we make what we do accessible to the school community and really figure out ways to bring in those who are not yet in touch with us into that fold. And so there's a weekly PTA newsletter that goes out every Sunday evening. It's bilingual in Spanish and English. That provides updates on events coming up and just goings on with the school and the school community. And then, as Natalie just mentioned, the Member Hub is another great way that we're hoping to launch to be able to, again, facilitate communication between different classes, different groups, again, separate from the membership itself, but just a way to connect. And so if there's friends of yours or other members of your community that are not here tonight or don't know about us, please get the word out about linking in with us. And you can send an email to me, which is communications@maryvalepta.org, and I can help plug that person in with any number of these channels.
Thank you, Ashwin. Ashwin, we really appreciate that. And I think that also kind of points to, in a way to get involved, as you can imagine, Ashwin has a lot on his plate as communications chair. So just being able to help out and help him with what he's trying to put in place, that is a great way to get involved as well and to get more familiar with the PTA and with the school. Next up, Teresa Clark is our program and events chair. Teresa.
Hey everyone, I'm Teresa Clark. As the title might indicate, I've been in charge of planning some of our programs and events. We haven't done too many. I think part of that is that everyone is at kind of max mental capacity, but we're trying to plan a few fun things here and there. We did a couple of dance hours courtesy of the Vance family. The Maryvale Cougar led us through a Cougar Fit activity. We've had a few people participate in each of those and we really appreciated that. Amanda and Ms. Ritt and I are working on a career day activity for later in the year, date TBD, kind of once things settle down with the return to school. We've got our hands full with that right now. But we're really looking for what you're interested in, that your family would like to participate in, and that you think we all could kind of handle right now. So if you have any ideas, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at programs@maryvalepta.org. We'd love to work with you on that. And another thing that I'll just hype a little bit in terms of what Ashwin said about reaching out to you in the way that you want to be reached out to, we have a shared calendar, which has been something that I've been really interested in, because any friction that I have in getting events onto my calendar means that I don't show up at events. And so now it's synchronized with my normal calendar on my iPhone, and it makes my life a lot easier. So if you want more detail about that, it usually comes out in the PTA newsletter. So thanks for that. And thanks for everything you do for our community.
Thanks, Teresa. And I think that, Teresa's role also points to, we do have significant fundraising ability and funds available to us where people have creative ideas for things that the PTA can make happen. We would love to hear from you as well on that front. Some of you may or may not be aware. So in addition to our school PTA, there's also a Montgomery County PTA, MCC PTA, that kind of acts at a higher level. It's a giant school district with over a couple 100,000 students. Brian Price is our delegate to that community. So if we have issues where we want to advocate on behalf of individual students or classes or the school, Brian is the go-to person to hear those points of view and to reflect those up to the broader level. So Brian, you want to share a little bit more?
Good evening, everyone. I have two kids at Maryvale. I have a daughter in Mr. C's class, Annabelle, and I have a son in 4th grade in Madam Owana's class. So I've been involved in the PTA for a number of years, and this year I am a delegate, as Stephen said. Basically, I'm there to represent our school within the Montgomery County PTA meetings, and I'm there to bring back news and information of what the Board of Education or that board for Montgomery County has decided on with different aspects within our school system. So basically, they also have other groups like an advocacy group that members would join in to possibly advocate for something that they want to happen at the school level. So they have a lot of organizations up there as well. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Brian. We really appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, Sandra Taylor has done a tremendous job as our fundraising chair, leading the book fair. She's figuring out where to put. We actually raised a decent amount of money from the clothing bin donation on site that she's been working on, and being creative with a number of other fundraising opportunities. So really appreciate all her work. And trying to share a little bit more, Sandra.
Hi, yeah, sure. I'm Sandra. My children, I have a 4th grader in Madam Owana's class and a 1st grader in Madam Loomis's class. And yeah, we appreciate the support you have given the PTA with the book fair. And we've raised a little bit of money from doing a restaurant fundraiser, and hopefully we'll have a couple more of those coming up. And yeah, just if anyone is also interested in helping, feel free. I would love some extra help.
Thank you for that. Yes, I think that's where there's always, she's shown a lot of leadership, but there's obviously a lot we can do and more we can do if we want to. I just really want to thank Principal Prin, Assistant Principal Bowerman. They've obviously done a tremendous job navigating this crazy time and for taking the time to be so responsive and to be with us tonight to share all this. You can tell they're working hard at all this, and it really shows in the continuity of instruction that our kids are all receiving. So we do some sort of virtual round of applause, but thank you both very much. And for Madam Riley and for the rest of the staff, we appreciate all your hard work. It really means a lot to all of us. So with that, again, feel free to sign up in the chat if you're interested. Look for this video on the website, maryvalepta.org. And the next board meeting will be on Tuesday, March 9th. If you had other questions you didn't get answered right now, or you want to just engage in this discussion further, we'd love to have your participation at 7 o'clock the second Tuesday of every month. So with that, I don't know, Principal Prin, Assistant Principal Bowerman, is there anything else you wanted to share with the group before we adjourn?
I just want to thank parents for that really help their children through Zooms all day today to take another over an hour and join us again tonight. It's heartwarming for us to see your faces. We are here for you. We're here for your children. If in the coming weeks you do have specific questions, please reach out to us. We are available. And know that whether your child's gonna remain virtual again or is gonna return to in-person, either way, the same amount of dedication and work is going into both plans. So I just want you to be assured that we are ready.
Wonderful. Well, on that note, again, yeah, thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the school leadership for being here, and wish you all a great evening. Thank you. Take care.